All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin. The IRS of the United States of America, they have officially extended their tax deadline, your tax deadline, by 90 days. You now have until July 15th to file your taxes. This is federally, although keep in mind state to state, a lot of states are following suit. Also, within the last 12 hours, President Trump has officially ordered the Department of Housing and Urban Development to suspend evictions, to suspend foreclosures, offering some relief to the renters, to the homeowners that are being hit hardest in these unprecedented economic times. Now, all this on top of the breaking news, as of 24 hours ago, the Fed is now going to do two $500 billion overnight repos every day. This is in addition to the relief the Fed has been providing these last 2 weeks. This is new. This is $1 trillion a day. Jesus. Despite all this relief, the traditional stock market opened up again on a huge decline. We declined so hard, so fast, we hit our 7% trading decline halt. We halted trading for 15 minutes. This circuit breaker seemingly becoming a daily thing at this point. With all of this going on, President Trump, the government, we are talking a national bailout. And the question is not if, the question is when and how will this be different, if at all, from the bailout we saw in 2008. Trump has already pledged to backstop airlines 100%. The U.S. airlines are seeking government assistance of more than $50 billion, including a mix of direct aid and loan guarantees. Let's get some perspective from Mark Cuban, because this is happening. How should it be done? And hey, maybe this time the government could consider the average person, like you and me.
We've been through these bailouts before, and there have been a lot of political finger pointing afterwards. You have a thought about how this should be done?
Yeah, we already know what's going to happen. You know, a year after this, plays out, and it will, we'll look back and say, why don't we, consider the workers, the everyday hourly worker, the people, making minimum wage? Why didn't we reward them as well? And so let's get ahead of it. And whatever we do in a bailout, make sure that every worker gets compensated and is treated equally, and that the executives don't get rewarded extra to stick around because they got nowhere else to go. The government's taking their risk out of the equation. Let's treat all workers equally.
So, but how would we do that? Because one of the things that, look, there's going to be all sorts of stimulus plans, bailouts, and the like. And one of the things you want to do is get that money into the system as quickly as possible. You don't want people not to take the money. And so the more strings that you attach to it, and I'm not suggesting you don't, but the more that you do, the more likely it is that certain people may hold back. And so I'm trying to figure out how to capture that balance.
Okay. Two different things. One, getting money into the system is a function of the Fed, and they're obviously taking those steps right now. Two is when there's a bailout. When there's a bailout and the government comes in and offers assistance to an organization or public company in particular, whether it's an airline, whatever it may be, there are most likely going to be steps taken by the company, and historically this is what has taken place, where they reward the executives. Mm-hmm. They reprice their options. They give them more stock. They give them warrants. They give them options, whatever it may be. Whatever it is that a company does for their executives, they should be required to proportionally do the same thing for everyone else that works for the company. Period. End of story. Part one. Part two, no buybacks. Not now. Not a year from now, not 20 years from now, not ever, because effectively you're spending taxpayer money to buy back stock, and to me, that's just the wrong way to do that.
Okay. I like that. I like his perspective. A year from now, we're going to look back after this plays out, and this will play out, and realize we did it right or we did it wrong. Did we reward the corporations again, or did we equally help the little guy and the corporations? Now, some of you may be against these bailouts. You may be saying, hey, this is closer to socialism, Austin. And me personally, well, in my opinion, this is happening. And if this is happening, I don't want to keep rewarding these corporations. But if we're going to help the corporations, we might as well help the little guy just as much. That's my opinion. I mean, if these companies are going to be able to get rewarded with free money, then they shouldn't be able to conduct buybacks as well, buy back their own stocks as well. I mean, how's that fair? To be clear, there's no problem with conducting buybacks, but then you shouldn't be eligible to be bailed out later if you do them. let's go to clip 2. Is this actually happening? A national bailout.
Do you think that we're going to have a national bailout for companies across the board? Do you think we should look to airlines or other specific industries for help? I mean, that we should be helping? How would you approach it?
I think we have to. I mean, look, this is cascading, and it's getting worse by the minute. The number of layoffs is just skyrocketing. And so if I walked in the door, the first thing I would do is prioritize. And I would create effectively, and this isn't the right word, but effectively create 2 buckets. Bucket number 1, and we have to do these things in parallel. Bucket number 1 is how do you help companies of all sizes to keep paying their employees and not lay them off or fire them? Because we want to keep people employed, even if it's make good work, even if this is the Tennessee Valley Authority all over again, and we're just subsidizing companies to keep their employees on the payroll and finding things for them to do. Because keeping them in the payroll, it will pay off more in terms of minimizing taxpayer requirements than releasing them or fire them or laying them off and them having to go find jobs in the future. So that's bucket number 1. Do all you can to keep people employed. Bucket number 2, we've already seen significant layoffs. There were people who were already unemployed. That's where we might consider helping people, whereas if you're going on to unemployment or any type of government, federal government assistance, then maybe we pay them a bonus, and that's not a good word for this, but give them a check for the $1,000 to help them get through the immediate need. But they should be just 2 very distinct buckets. But the priority has got to be working to keep working to help people stay employed. I actually don't like the idea of just giving everybody a $1,000 check, because for a lot of small businesses, if they know that their employees are going to get a check and that business is struggling, they might say, you know what, I'm going to lay them off or fire them because I know they have a backstop of some sort. And when this is hopefully all over in 3 or 4 months, like people are predicting, we'll figure it out then. And I think the priority needs to be on helping people keep their jobs.
Yes, this is cascading. As Mark Cuban said, people in the airline industry, I'm talking about the workers in the airline industry, in the service industry. I can speak personally about workers, people in the entertainment industry. My brother and I were out here in Los Angeles. These productions, who have hundreds of people working in front of, behind the camera, are getting shut down. And you may say, hey, we have more important things to worry about than TV shows here or movies. And absolutely. But hundreds of people have families that they're wondering how they're going to support their families for the next potentially 3 to 4 months. New post. We may see unemployment numbers that match the Great Depression by the end of 2020. This is a deep dive into the data that suggests many investors are drastically underestimating the gravity of the financial crisis we are entering. I guess the point is, and how this affects you, is if we look at traditional markets, if we look at the 1-day, how the stock market opened today, decline. If we look at the 5-day, the trend is saying decline. If we look at the 1 month, okay, a little better. We're still seeing cascading lower highs. I want to see higher highs. Right now we're seeing lower highs. I guess the point is many analysts are expecting 3 to 4 more months of this. Maybe it'll get better in July or August. Even if we just see another 3 to 4 weeks of this, be ready. Be ready. As a Bitcoin holder, many more traditional investors, not now, but fundamentally for the long term, many more traditional investors will begin, in my opinion, to get tuned on to what a decentralized, hard, capped supply looks like. Because what is the current inflation rate? The billions and trillions of money that was printed out of thin air in the last 2 to 3 days. What does that look like for the devaluing of the US dollar? Well, here's the current annual inflation rate by month. In January, the dollar got devalued at a rate of 2.49%, February at a rate of 2.33%. Now, how does that compare to where we were, say, last year? Well, not all, but most of last year, the rate was around 1.5 to 1.8, sometimes touching 2%. So the rate at which the US dollar is being devalued, it went up. Now, we saw the most stimulus, the most printing in just the month of March, the last few days. So what is this number potentially going to look like in the next few months? Well, for some perspective, if we zoom on down to 2008, when we saw huge stimulus from the Fed trying to jumpstart the economy, it was 4%, 3.9%, 5%, 5.6%. I believe this is the type of thing we'll see in the next few months. Now, of course, when traditional markets are collapsing, that's not the time for most people to want to speculate on Bitcoin. Everything goes down in a down market. The key is going to be which assets, probably uncorrelated assets, which assets recover first. Now, we saw in 2008, gold did, and I'm not going to say when, but whenever traditional markets start to recover, I believe Bitcoin will start to recover like gold as well. I would be very interested for you at home listening right now. Go down in the comment section. After this video, let's all check out the comments together. I would be very interested to hear what you think. All right, that is the video for today. My name's Austin. Like always, see you tomorrow. Also, for those of you who follow my brother and I on Instagram, there's a link down below in the description, but you've already seen this. As you know, my brother and I, we are in the entertainment industry out here. If you will be in front of your TV tomorrow, if you live somewhere where you get Foxx, Thursday night, tomorrow night on Foxx, 9/8 Central, catch me on the show Deputy. I think you'll really like it. Has nothing to do with Bitcoin, but get to know me a little bit better. There's a link down below in the description. Stay healthy.